Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Enhanced Precision Mining Operations with Satellite Imagery. My name is Sabrina, and I'm a Product Marketing Manager at Up42. I will be your host today. Before I introduce our speakers, let me show you quickly how to use this platform. You can use the chat window to interact with us or let us know if you're facing any technical difficulties, or you can use the specific question tab to ask us any questions. Please do so because we will have a live Q&A session at the end of the event. Now, let me introduce our speakers. I'm super excited to have Matt Watt from Black Sky, Head of Sales Europe, joining us today. Aniki Wade from Umbra, Customer Success Manager, and our very own Alex Bishop. He is a pre-sales engineer at Up42. And before I pass it on to our speakers today, I just want to give you a quick overview of how you can use satellite imagery at every stage of mining operations. To monitor a mine's natural evolution, you do need accurate and timely information. But of course, plenty of mines are located in very remote places around the world, which makes satellite imagery a great tool to monitor at scale. In the site exploration phase, for example, satellite imagery can help to assess geology, topology, and hydrology to facilitate a better terrain understanding. It can also help identify potential mining pits, rock formation, so that you can plan routes and logistics. Hyperspectral imagery as well can also help identify mineral deposits and enable more efficient exploration. In the monitoring phase, satellite imagery can also play a great role. It can help you monitor assets and field resources remotely, track landscape changes such as slope stability, ensure safety by detecting potential hazards before accidents occur, and measure environmental impacts such as expansion of waste, stockpiles, vegetation health, water quality, and scarcity. And last but not least, in the reclamation phase, you can use satellite imagery to detect changes in deforestation, soil composition, erosion, subsidence, and land subsidence. You can also use satellite imagery to analyze vegetation mass and health, and also classify land covers such as water, vegetation, lands, to then evaluate reclamation efforts. Oversee also reforestation projects. This can be helpful if you're trying to offset previous emissions. I think the benefits quite clearly are numerous. Regardless of how remote a mine is, satellite data provides global coverage. Today, many satellites also have very high revisit rates, something that we'll hear more about later, providing you with fresh and accurate information multiple times a day. Remote sensing data also reduces the need for labor-intensive inspections, and you can get actionable insights for timely decision-making, which prevents unplanned interruptions and emergencies. There are different types of satellite data that you can use for mining, and those are just some examples, of course, by no means an exhaustive list. For example, you can use optical satellite imagery for terrain mapping, monitoring pit slopes, change, and ground motion effects. SAR, as well as InSAR, can be used to detect surface deformation, waste leakage, and monitor dam integrity. Elevation data derived from satellite imagery, especially satellites with stereo and tri-stereo capabilities, can be used to determine terrain slope, to plan mining operations and design infrastructure. And last but not least, land cover that can also be produced on demand can be used for environmental and risk assessment, vegetation analysis, as well as identifying water bodies. And now that we have spoken about so many different types of data, it can be quite daunting to purchase and to get access to different types of data. This is where Up42 comes in. We do provide you a developer platform marketplace that acts as a one-stop shop to different types of data: optical, SAR, elevation, land cover, and more, as well as processing algorithms, so you can derive insights at scale. We make it easier to purchase an image without worrying about data license agreements or contracts with different providers. And Alex, one of our speakers today, will show you exactly how later on. We do partner with a lot of providers, data providers, as well as analytics providers, and two of us are joining us today, Black Sky and Umbra. And I think now it's a good time to hand it over to Matt from Black Sky, who will introduce the company and how you can use Black Sky data.
Thank you, Dobrina. I will take over control of the slides. So hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. My name's Matt. I look after Black Sky's business in Europe and have been around in this market for quite a while. I'm going to walk you through a quick overview of the Black Sky constellation, our platform, and how we see the world, which, as you'll see, is a little bit different from what you might expect from a satellite imagery company. So although Black Sky is primarily come from the defense and intelligence sector, a lot of the benefits that we've seen for our customers in that sector also apply to the commercial world, and especially in the mining and other natural resource industries, which is why we're speaking here with our partner at 42. And what makes Black Sky a little bit different is that we are about as close to real-time imagery as you will find in the market. And you'll see in the coming slides what I mean by that. So the traditional world of satellite imagery was always looking to the past. You were receiving an image days, hours after it was taken, when the situation on the ground might have actually changed. So you were always acting on historical information. With Black Sky, you can now not only control when that information is collected, but you can also get it delivered to you very fast indeed. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, which will then explain what we mean by some of the statements here. And why do we need this? As it won't be a surprise to anyone that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world at the moment, and that seems to be increasing day by day. That doesn't just affect our national security interests, but it also affects our commercial security. Large organizations have a very high interest in their assets on the ground, and they want to understand in the same way as a national security customer might, what is happening with those assets, what is happening with their competitors' assets, what is happening to the situation on the ground. And so to do that, you need to have information at your fingertips very quickly, so that you can take timely actions to either protect or otherwise enhance those assets. So how does Black Sky do this? Well, we've approached the problem in a slightly different way than more traditional companies. Most satellites tend to be in what's called a sun-synchronous orbit. Our satellites, for the most part, are in what's called a mid-latitude inclined orbit, which means that instead of going over the poles, they are going around the world in a variety of different latitudes, depending on which part of the constellation we're talking about. That's what allows us to collect the same location on Earth multiple times per day, up to 15 times a day if you're in the right place. It's also what allows us to deliver that information very quickly to our customers. Because we're passing over the ground stations in a lot more frequency. The other part that makes this significant is that we developed our own platform that allows our customers to task the satellites without having to interact with Black Sky once they're established as a customer. So that allows us to use this concept of what we call near real-time monitoring to look at places much more frequently and allow the customers to control what they collect and when they collect it. So as I mentioned, we have our own interface called Spectra. And once you're a Black Sky customer, you get access to that interface and you can use it to either task new collections or look at the archive or apply the analytics to any of that data that is collected. And the customer has full control over how that is done. We work with partners like Up42 and Umbra and many other partners in the satellite ecosystem to provide combined pictures and make it as easy as possible to get access to the data and analytics that you require to support your interests. So what does this mean when I say collect multiple times per day? Ultimately, it means that rather than being stuck with the traditional sun-synchronous orbit collection times of roughly 10:30 in the morning and maybe 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you could start collecting from first light or before first light to after dark. And in fact, you can collect 24 hours a day. We do have nighttime imaging options. The satellites, of course, don't turn off when it's dark down below. They just keep taking images. So that allows us to deliver a very high number of images per day. As you see there, 2,000 plus is the current capacity with the constellation that we have at the moment. And I've mentioned that delivery timeline a couple of times. So that is the time from the collection of the image to delivery into the customer's endpoint. And that endpoint can either be the Spectra platform, or it can be a customer's Amazon S3 bucket or Azure or secure FTP. It's up to the customer to define that. It's very easy for us to make a change as to where that imagery is then delivered. And just to put that into context for you, that 30 minutes delivery timeline is real. We did an exercise with a customer in Spain last week. They tasked an image in the morning. It was delivered in 32 minutes. On average in Europe, it's about 60 minutes, and globally, the average is 90 minutes. I also mentioned the 15 times a day revisit rate. That varies a little bit depending on geography, because that will affect, of course, the number of satellite passes that are going overhead. But for most of the world, it's between 10 and 15 times per day. And our customers have shown that they understand the value of what we're delivering. Those of you that pay attention to the market will know that we were awarded a 10-year billion-dollar contract by the US government last year. We also have a significant number of international defense and intelligence organizations with not the same size, but still significantly sized contracts. The commercial market has actually been an area where we haven't spent that much time as an organization. We've come from the defense and intelligence market, and that is still our core focus. But as I said before, a lot of the use cases that apply to defense and intelligence customers are also very relevant to the commercial market. And through our partner channel, we are starting to see significant interest and engagement with those organizations. And that's one of the reasons why we have partners like Up42, is to drive that commercial business using the BlackSky platform and their other partners as well. So in terms of how we help the customers act first, I've talked a lot about the speed already. Having that high frequency monitoring gives people access to near real-time tactical intelligence. Yes, that's a military terminology, but it means the same thing in a commercial world. If you're able to get an answer of what's happening on the ground in 30 or 45 minutes, that is a much more timely answer than you might get from certain other providers. Our platform has been purpose-built to serve this constellation. So the Spectra platform has been designed and built by BlackSky in-house to serve our customers in terms of allowing them to task new imagery, access the archive, look at combinations of that data from other sources as well. We have a virtual constellation that you can task through our platform as well. And then we have a series of AI tools that we've built on top of that platform that allow you to do, at the moment, things like road detection, building detection, vessels, aircraft, and things like that. And that's what allows our customers the freedom to task these collections themselves. So you as the customer with your Spectra account are controlling and monitoring the things that you are most interested in. You don't have to email us and say, could we please have a collect over this location? It's always there. It's always accessible for you to use, as long as you're a subscriber, of course. And that gives the customers a tremendous amount of flexibility in what they're collecting and how they're collecting it. We do, of course, have an account management team who are always on hand to help customers if they need assistance with specific collections. So here's a nice example of what I mean by the high frequency revisits and the timely collections. So this is actually a location in Turkey that we were looking at for somebody earlier this year. And we were able to collect 20 images in 2 days. Sorry, not 2 hours. We're not quite that good yet. So that allows us to then really monitor a location if we might have something specific happening in a place. Obviously, in this case, we're talking about mining, but this particular example was an airfield, and the customer was very interested in understanding the pattern of life that was happening in that minefield. So in a mining context, you might be looking at when are the trucks moving, how many trucks are in the parking areas at any particular times, how much activity is happening at different times of the day at this location. And that's a very nice example of what it means to have multiple collects of imagery during a day. It also means that you can start to do things like look around clouds. So if it's cloudy when your sun-synchronous orbit is overhead, that's your opportunity for the day gone. If it's cloudy for an entire morning with black sky, you can still collect images in the afternoon and still have 5 or 6 images from that day to use in whatever it is you need to use it for. So having that intradaily collect allows you then to deal with some of the obstacles that we face as an optical provider from the weather. Of course, Umbra is going to come on now and show you all how that doesn't matter if you're using SAR. But from an optical provider perspective, being able to see around the clouds at different times of day is very important. So looking ahead to what's coming in the future, as a new space company, of course, we're always doing very exciting things in the future. But with Black Sky, this is real, this is contracted, this is coming next year. So we start launching our Generation 3 constellation next year. And that is going to give us the next level up in terms of the quality and specifications of our data. So at the moment, we're an 80 centimeter provider, 80 centimeters to 1.2. Generation 3 will be a 35 centimeter image. We will be increasing the number of satellites in the constellation from the current 16 to 30. That will allow us to bring the revisit rate and the delivery timelines both down significantly. So instead of an hour or an hour plus, you'll be looking at a 30-minute revisit rate for any location on Earth. And that delivery timeline is expected to be about 30 minutes. In certain situations, we can actually bring that down significantly further from that by the time the full constellation is up. It will continue to allow us to have the same capabilities that we have now in terms of low light or nighttime imaging. So we will have the ability to image 24 hours a day with that 35 centimeter result. The other interesting thing about the next generation satellites is that we will have an extra payload on there, which will be a shortwave infrared sensor. So still not a SAR sensor, but it will allow us to have improved visibility through smoke and haze. So it will extend the capability to have a quality image in a low light situation. Just a little bit about Black Sky. We are a US company headquartered in Herndon, just outside Washington, DC. We've been running since 2014, and we are publicly traded for the last 2 years. Obviously, this is a general overview presentation that is normally targeted at the national security market, so the USG clearances is probably not so important for the mining market, but that is where we are. That is where our focus is. And with that, I think I'm almost out of time, so I will leave it there for the moment. Obviously, we will be around later on to answer any questions that people have.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you, Matt, for the great overview of Black Sky. I really enjoyed hearing that. And thank you, of course, to the UP42 team. It's a privilege to be able to speak here about Umbra, introduce you to our company, and tell you a little bit more about our data. My name is Annika Wade. I'm one of our customer success managers here at Umbra. And thanks everyone that's tuning in live and folks that are tuning in at a later date through the recording. So a little bit about Umbra. So today I'm going to cover a little bit about who we are as a company, our difference, and a little bit about our data products. So Umbra is a next-gen space technology company. We're based in Santa Barbara, California, in the western part of the United States by the beach. We have a little over 120 employees, and we currently operate the US's highest resolution shareable commercial synthetic aperture radar constellation on the market. A little bit about our history, right? So although we are newer to selling data, we've been around for about 8 years. So from 2015 to 2019, we were really engaged in, founding the company, fundraising, building our technology, designing our systems, assembling our teams. In 2020 to 2022, we launched O1, O2, and O3. Those current vehicles are still in orbit, and we use them as our non-commercial test vehicles. It's very exciting that in 2023, we had the successful launch of O4 and O5, which allowed us to start selling data commercially to the market. With that, we also started to commercialize and open up some of our open data. So we currently have over $1 million of open data that is freely available for you to utilize. So I highly encourage you to access our data through our website. Also check in with your team at Up42 and understand how you can start to use some of our open data to figure out if it's going to work for your particular projects. We also launched O6 this year as well. So as I said, with the successful launches of these satellites, we've been able to start serving commercial customers, both domestically and internationally. Just a few weeks ago, we launched 2 additional satellites. So we launched O7 and O8. And then also a couple weeks ago, we announced that we have our archive available as well. So once again, get in touch with your team at Up42 if you're interested in looking more at our archival data. What's next for our company, right? We're a startup, we're growing quickly. It's our goals to increase our constellation size. So we have O9, 10, 11, and 12 all in development for launches in 2024. So Umbra is uniquely positioned in the marketplace, and we have a few key differentiators that I wanted to go over. One of our big differentiators is our licensing. So all of Umbra's data is currently licensed under Creative Commons by 4.0. As you know, this is extremely rare within this current market, and this is going to make a huge difference for you. So what this means for you as a customer and an end user of our data is you're going to be able to utilize our data to infuse into your derivative products. You can transfer that raw data onto your end users, and you can really use it and utilize it for development purposes. We also have a transparent pricing model. So we actually publish our prices on the website, and we'll go over that kind of briefly here. So kind of what you see is what you get. This is going to allow you as the end user to start to figure out from a budgeting perspective what it looks like to utilize our data. So there's no hidden costs involved. So you know right away, when you're starting to scope your project with Umbra, what it looks like from a financial perspective. And then we also operate the industry-leading SAR Spotlight resolution. So we are currently really focused and engaged in that high-resolution Spotlight mode right now. And as I could say, we're one of the highest in the commercial market, and you're going to be really pleased with our data. So a little bit about our products and our capabilities, right? So I've mentioned that we are a synthetic aperture radar constellation, and our current tasking mode is Spotlight. So each scene size is going to be about 4 to 4 kilometer scene size. For polarization, we focus on VV and HH. All of the data from our constellation, as well as our open data products, are going to be licensed with Creative Commons attribution. For data products, we offer GeoTIFF, SICKID, and then all of our JSON, all of our metadata is in the JSON format. So you're going to be able to easily fuse our data products into your already created algorithms and systems and programs. We also offer the complex phase history data for an additional 35% upcharge. As I mentioned, one of our key differentiators with Umbra is that we publish our pricing. So this pricing is on our website. This pricing is going to be available to you as customers as Up42, and this is what you will get. So for 1 meter, we start at $500 and we go all the way up. For data products, we offer 1 meter, half meter, 35 centimeter, and 25 centimeter, that very high resolution SAR. And then we also offer a variety of multi-look data products. So as you're starting to think about how I can utilize Umbra, how I can utilize SAR in my mining use cases, I really encourage you to reach out to Jabrina and the team and start to play around with our different data products and see which is going to be the best for your particular sites of interest. One of the things that's really interesting about SAR that kind of sets it apart from optical is the ability to monitor, during all weather conditions. So, this is something we kind of covered in the last presentation, but, at any given moment in time, 60% of the earth can be dark, right, due to nightfall, or there can also be clouds, or you can have a combination of both nightfall and clouds. Traditionally, during those periods of time, you're not able to capture imagery. However, by taking advantage and leveraging our SAR constellation, you're going to be able to have persistent monitoring regardless of the time of day or regardless of weather events. So for you as end users of our data, what does this mean? It just means there's going to be more opportunities, more feasibility, and the ability to collect more and more data. So this could be extremely important when you're trying to look at those equatorial regions or regions where you need that sort of persistent monitoring regardless of time of day and regardless of weather. Something that's also very, very interesting, right, about SAR is you're going to be able to look once again through the clouds, through smoke, through smog, through fog. It doesn't matter those sort of weather events. Those are not going to be blockers for you when trying to utilize our data. So a little bit about SAR from a very, very high level, right? It's very easy to get kind of caught in the technical details. And I do encourage you to look at our product guide and learn more about SAR. But from a very high level, SAR is going to allow you to capture data by utilizing radar signals. Those radar signals are going to allow you to create these high resolution images of your particular sites of interest, of your mines of interest, of the tailings dams of interest. What is SAR? You're going to be able to capture that data both day and night, right? I can't emphasize this enough. By using and leveraging our data and our constellation, you're going to be able to see real-time opportunities and feasibilities that work regardless of day or night and weather events. And then once again, you're going to be able to capture these tailings dams, capture the mining sites of interest regardless of weather. And then I also really encourage you to take, a multimodal approach, right? Here we have an image of Black Sky. We also have an image of Umbra. This is over the same site of interest. So, use SAR with your other forms of data. Use SAR with your EO. Use SAR with your RF. Take that multimodal approach to be able to get a very nice ConOps view of it. So once again, thank you so much for allowing me to introduce Umbra, introduce our data products. I'm going to pass it back over to the UP42 team, but I really do encourage you to reach out to your team at UP42, utilize our open data, and start to think about how you can use SAR for your particular mining use cases.
Nice. Thank you, Annika. Thanks, Matt, for the presentation. So hi, everyone. My name is Alex Bishop. Today, I'm going to do a presentation of the UP42 platform, what it can be used for, and the benefits of it. And as we got to see from Black Sky and Umbra, there's some specific situations where those data sets might be appropriate, but perhaps not all the time. And the idea with UP42 is to give you the ability to access these different data sets at different moments, depending on the scope of your project, depending on what analysis and intelligence you're trying to derive, the area, the surface area that you have to do analysis on, and so forth. And so this is something that UP42's team can help you with. We can guide you towards which data sets are most appropriate what moment in your projects. We can also help you do discovery in terms of what these data sets can offer, if the resolutions fit, if the timeframes work, right? If you have to do these rapid revisits like BlackSky can offer, if that's appropriate, or maybe you have more time and you need a higher resolution and you can go with something else. Before we dive into some of those things, I do want to show the platform, some of its capabilities, and I'll guide you through the marketplace too, which is a good resource for discovering the variety of products we offer. A cool thing though with Up42 is that something of note is that we have this concept of workspaces, and in a workspace under an account, you can invite members. So those of you out there who do have accounts and you work within the framework of a team in your companies and whatnot, you can easily invite your colleagues to join your Up42 account. You would then share the data sets that have been purchased, the credits and so forth. And of course, for the administrators out there, you can remove members or workspaces in case some of your colleagues are no longer within your team. Something of note too, we do provide access to a bunch of data sets, but not necessarily all of them by default. So you do have to request access to some of these as you go. You only have to do this once. You just have to request access at the beginning, and then we'll provide access based on the compliance status of your account. Same thing with the EULAs. Only have to do this once. You would be prompted to do so before you can place an order. You can certainly still discover all the data sets through the catalog and whatnot. But end user license agreements must be accepted in order to actually order data. Credits, we are a credit-based platform, so you can purchase credits. You can see the transaction histories here. You can export reports based on specific dates for, from a project management point of view, for instance. And of course, you can purchase custom amounts of volume of credits and whatnot. And, we do provide volume discounts for big orders. Awesome. Before we look at the catalog and running actual archive searches, I want to show you what we call, or what is the marketplace. And this is a space on Up42 where you can discover all the products we have to offer. And so, for instance, elevation products are typically of interest in the mining sector, whether they're for understanding, the current status of the land around a new mine development site, for hydrology purposes and whatnot. Perhaps an off-the-shelf DSM or DTM product is appropriate for that. And you can easily have access to those here. So just by typing elevation, the marketplace returned, you can see 34 products. You can filter by providers here, on the left. You can see Intermap provides a variety of data sets at different resolutions. And so this is, again, the strength of Up42. We have elevation products. We can do optical. And it's the strength of Up42 because in a single touch point, you can have access to all these different data sets, right? Optical, SAR data. We can find Umbra here, TerraSAR, ComSat. So things are listed here, and you can dive in and kind of like do some discovery of the specific technical informations around these sensors, which is great. With that said, though, how do we find data? Well, we have the catalog for discovering archive data. It presents itself through this nice web map type interface. You can type in a search location here or paste some coordinates in Latin long coordinates. You can certainly upload a geometry, which is the recommended way with a GeoJSON or a KML file. And or you can just draw a geometry directly here in the map. The cool thing is you can save a specific geometry into your geometries library, and these are available here, so you can navigate to any of them. So you can have all your mining site locations or ports where cargo is loaded onto shipping terminals and whatnot for monitoring operations. You can have all those here in your library and run archive searches on a frequency that meets your needs. You can see that when we load this, we surface all the available products here on the left side through these cards, which is fantastic, and they're listed from optical from the highest resolution to lowest. So again, depending on your project, on your needs, on the analysis you're trying to get to, you can leverage a variety of things, very high resolution aerial data or satellite-based data. There was a question about, shortwave infrared data sets. Those are available here with the Sentinel and the Landsat in the medium resolution. And then, of course, the non-optical with Capella or radar data sets and elevation products. You can see there's a bunch of stuff here. If we were to go somewhere perhaps different, you'll see that this won't always surface the same products. So what is available here on the left is the platform is just running a high-level search off of your geometry. If you wanted to discover in depth the products that are here, you can click on any of these and dive into the available scenes, right? So for instance, this will show a low resolution preview of the Pleiad Neo data set that's available here over this site in Chile. And you can view some of the metadata information. You can select a processing level that might meet your needs, right? So analytic would be the reflectance product, a display level just for visuals. And you can select these and add them to your cart and perhaps keep shopping around. Of course, we do have filters where you can select cloud cover, date ranges and whatnot. You can switch collections and so forth. The cool thing here too, again, is that this single touch point allows you to have access to optical, but perhaps you also want one of those elevation products. So you can go maybe this NextMap 6-meter DSM. You can view the price, the credit estimate, or the actual credit cost for this data set, and also add it to your cart. And you can purchase both of these under the same order, which is really convenient. And you would place this order. Orders can be monitored through the My Orders tab here. So you would have visibility on anything that was purchased. You can click on these and review the parameters that were chosen. Of course, if you're using code, the order ID is always quite convenient to know or have. And you have a link to where the data set is delivered into your data management space, which we'll have a look at in a minute. This was really kind of convenient for this one geometry, but say you have dozens or more sites you want to kind of do archive discovery over. Well, the cool thing is UP42 is an API for its company. So if you have mine sites all over, North and South America, Central America and whatnot, like some of these sites, you can easily leverage our SDK or API to put a little bit of code together to run a search and surface all the available archive that is available, on these data sets per your search parameters. So there's, of course, the usuals, the commercial and the open source, and you can view these, share these with colleagues of yours to determine which scenes are appropriate. And of course, you can then kind of like run them through a cost estimate and place orders again. Same thing with tasking, right? You might not always, although we provide access to as many data providers and data sources as we can, and we're always, bringing more of these data sets to the platform, no area will always have the right scene that you wanted in archive at the right time. And so tasking, kind of like Matt was explaining with Black Sky, is crucial. It's needed a lot of times, right? For you to reliably get data sets over the areas you need when you need them, and looking forward. And so UP42 also provides access to that through our tasking platform. And here, the cool thing is we have this nice tasking flow where, regardless of the data provider, we connect to our partners' APIs and whatnot. And so you can kind of easily select the collections that you're interested in. So today, we'll look at Umbra and Black Sky down here. These are, by the way, are listed by resolution, right? So you kind of get a good view of the highest resolutions all the way down to lower resolutions. And Black Sky is over here. So we can select both of these. We can bring in, for instance, our geometry for one of our sites. Let's look at this one. And the cool thing here is the platform knows that, for instance, these specific collections don't accept polygons. These are more like assets that you would target to monitor with Umbra and Black Sky, and they accept points. But no problem, you can simply come here and toggle this point feature, and then that would solve that issue for you. Of course, if you had a GeoJSON with like just the latitude, longitude point coordinates, you would bring that in instead, or you could type them in the search bar here. The cool thing here, though, is that you have visibility into the cost of things, which was kind of a pain point in the past with tasking. And so here we surface this credit estimate on how much the tasking operation would cost. And here we go. And yeah, so for instance, we wanted to move forward with Umbra. We could do this and, excuse me, and provide like an order name. We would select a data product if there were several. And this would be, for instance, the webinar demo. We could provide a description. For instance, we wanted to do a series of acquisitions. That was perhaps something we would provide here in the description. We can provide some date ranges. So perhaps we want to monitor next month in the new year. For 1 month, we want to provide 1 month to get maybe one nice image. So with Umbra, that shouldn't be a problem since it's radar. A polarization, and then the resolution at 25 centimeters and whatnot. The tags is a really cool feature for your tasking operations because you can provide, you know, like an identifier that makes sense to you. If it's a level of processing, if it's a project identifier and whatnot, this tag will live with your data as it's acquired through the cycle of being acquired and delivered into your data management. And so it just makes it really convenient from a data management point of view. You have this nice confirmation of your order before you place the order. And again, here, you're not actually being charged at the moment. You're simply requesting a feasibility study. So we would get back to you within a day, up to 3 days if it's a more of a complex order, with the available options for your tasking, right? So if it was black sky, we'd come back with you with all the available slots and see if you wanted to pick one or whatnot, or just go with the parameters you chose by default, or same thing with Umbra. So we could submit this request, and this will take us back to our orders page. And you can see this was updated, and my order is here. It's waiting for the feasibility study, which would be the next step. You eventually, to really activate the order, once a feasibility study is made ready, you would activate an order once the feasibility study is approved and a quote is made, or an official quote is made, and you would then pay at this point. You would be charged the credits, and that's when the mission would begin and data sets would start being acquired for you. Again, data sets as they come in are delivered into your data management space. And this is a really cool new space for us because we've our analytics team has done a great job at kind of revamping this. We used to deliver data sets just as they came from the data providers. So you on your side would have had to be able to ingest a variety of, you know, formats, let's say. And now we have made the storage component a stack catalog. So any data set you purchase through UP42 will be delivered to you. Raster data sets will be cloud optimized GeoTIFFs, and vector data sets will be GeoJSONs, and you'll have access to all the metadata that goes with that. And this is fantastic because it allows us to do some cool stuff. It allows us to surface the metadata that is in the file, which means that you can, without downloading the data, let's see, I wanted to show, yeah, this one, for instance. Without downloading the data, you can have a view of where it is, right? So if you have a lot of sites, for instance, you can confirm before downloading that you're downloading the right file. You can also have access to all the specific files that would have been in that original deliverable. So again, the GeoTIFF, maybe some cloud masks and whatnot, some specific metadata files. And of course, you know, similar to what a GDAL info might do, all the metadata of that specific image. So yeah, coordinate reference, ground sampling distance, and the different information around incidence angles and whatnot. If you wanted the original download format, you could still, of course, have access to that. But this is like convenient also because it allows us to present data sets in different ways, where we can now have this nice map component where we can like run a search against all the data sets that have been delivered through tasking or archive orders by, acquisition dates, ground sampling distance, cloud covers, whatnot, order IDs, and tags. So we had our mining tag, so we can run this, and this will surface the data sets that have been ordered, recently with our mining tag here. So for instance, we have these ones down over here on our site in Chile. And again, we can view these metadata sets and retrieve them. Okay, cool. So with that said, I'll pass it back to Debrina for questions, but we're more than happy to dive into discussing specific data sets that might, fit the need of mining as we move forward. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thanks, Matt and Annike, also for joining us today. Let's start with the Q&A. I think one question was quite popular, and Matt, you did mention that you will answer live. Can you tell me what you believe the use cases are for mining company? Have you asked the mining industry to get the understanding of their use cases for SWIR intra-hour monitoring? You mentioned knowing where the equipment is. Anything beyond that?
Yeah. So first point is the SWIR data is not available yet. That's part of our next generation constellation that starts launching next year. So I expect that about this time next year, that will start becoming available. But in terms of the use cases, as I said in my reply in the online chat, we have worked extensively with most of the mining majors over the last couple of years to understand their use cases. And I actually did some work on this in a previous life as well. So from a mining company perspective, a lot of their sites are very remote and they struggle to get regular overviews of what's happening on the site. A lot of it at the moment is still a very manual process involving visiting the mines and flying drones and things like that. And even helicopter flights still end up being very expensive from that perspective. So although it's not a very specialized use case, but from a mining company perspective, being able to get daily or weekly images that are of their particular sites is extremely valuable. I also didn't really talk about the different image product types that we have available, but one of the things that we do is we have the ability to take 2 or 5 frame stereo images. And the 5 frame stereo particularly allows you to create very accurate, in a vertical perspective, DSMs, digital surface models. So if you're a mining company and you're looking at, for example, coal stockpiles in Newcastle, in New South Wales, it allows you to create some highly accurate models of, is your coal there, but also more importantly, what are your competitors doing and how are their stockpiles growing or shrinking? And when you start to combine that with monitoring the shipping and being able to detect when there is a ship at the dock, it allows you to build a much more informed picture of the economic situation that is happening with yourself and your competitors' product. I also talked a little bit earlier on about being able to monitor trucks, but of course there's a lot more that happens in a mine site, and being able to have a DSM of the mine site as well as any stockpiles is of high interest. But it's really, the feedback that we've gotten from the mining companies so far has been really just being able to get regular overviews of their sites is highly interesting for them. It seems very basic to us in the industry, but we underestimate how little information some of these organizations are running with. And those conversations are ongoing. So it seems to be mostly based in Australia because that's where a lot of the mining happens and that's where a lot of the majors are focused, but we're seeing it across the world as well in the other locations like Alex was mentioning. That is primarily what they're interested in terms of the use cases. Obviously, the subject of tailings dams has come up today and has been in the news in the last couple of years. We've worked with some organizations in terms of being able to create regularly updated DSM models of their tailing dams as they try and use that to detect deformation in those dams, which might indicate possible oncoming failures and things like that. So there's a huge variety of use cases, of which I am definitely not expert enough to go into. But I'm happy to connect with you separately if anybody's interested. and connect you with the people in our organization who can speak to that, or up 42, of course.
Thank you, Matt. And Annike, there was a question that you also briefly mentioned. Is Umbra SAR data suitable for interferometric and polarimetry? You did mention that instead you can utilize the constellation for change detection near INSAR. I'm not sure if you want to mention something more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for asking the question. I'd say, right now, as a newer constellation, we're still, working to be able to provide that as a product. So I would say at the moment, utilizing our constellation for, change detection and near INSAR, you're going to be able to get the best results because of, our constellation size, how much capacity and opportunities we have. You will have a lot of opportunities to be able to create a really large stack of data. So I highly encourage you to utilize our capacity to create that stack of data through, booking through UP42 and creating those change detection use cases.
Thank you so much. And maybe a question for Alex. How do you utilize satellite imagery to analyze vegetation mass or health?
Yeah, that's something we've seen coming from our mining customers. This need to do a variety of analysis around mine sites. So not just, like Matt was saying, volume calculations, but looking at biodiversity and land cover, and monitoring how that changes through the life cycle of a mine. And for health of vegetation, simple things like NDVIs or vegetation indexes are kind of what you want to look at. So any of the multispectral data sets that we provide access to would give you that. And then it just depends on the resolution. And of course, the budget that you might have or the size of the area that you're looking at, right? But to any of our optical, space-based optical sensors, and for that matter, even the aerial data sets have multispectral sensors on them. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. And maybe back to Annike, there was a question if you require special software to access GRD and SLOC Umbra data. You did provide already a link. Anything else to add for this question?
No, I would say, first, utilize and exploit the tools that you're used to using for your geospatial processing, kind of depending on what your end products or, your deliverables will be, that's going to change. We have some folks that utilize, the SICD format and lean more in towards the SAR-Pi method, which is a more programmatic way utilizing Python. However, you can use box software like Envy or Esri's ArcGIS to also exploit things. But once again, it's going to kind of depend on what the output is you're looking for, right? As a lot of these things. So, but feel free, to reach out to the UP42 team, and then they'll reach out to me, and we can kind of figure out, what it is you're trying to achieve and try to close that gap with either, software products for you.
And on that note, just to add to that, because there's a question that's come up a few times now around data sets and processing tools for mining operations. That's kind of a broad question, and it depends on many things. But what UP42 is trying to do is provide customers with what the industry likes to call ARD data, or analytics ready data. Of course, this means drastically different things depending on your company and what you're trying to do. But essentially, UP42 now wants to facilitate that process also, right? So not just integrating different data sets, single touch point for access to a variety of data sets, but we wanted to deliver it, and this ties into our stack catalog, right? Our CNAM for data management. Data sets that are in a processing level that can be easily ingested into your processing pipelines. Because we are a developer platform, right? We want to provide convenient ways and easy tools like we do with the console UI, but we also have the ability to use our API and SDK to scale things and automate things. And so ARD with pan sharpening, which is already available now in our new processing platform, just putting that out there for our listeners. our processing capabilities are drastically changing in the next few months, and this is something we'll be communicating around. But yeah, for mining operations, having a nice, perhaps crisp image like Black Sky can provide and Annika's team at Umbra can provide, you can do that type of pan sharpening on UP42 also, and have that convenient kind of flow through our platform.
Thank you, Alex. And I believe I have a question for Annika again. What is near INSAR?
Yeah, certainly. That's a great question. And so, without getting into like too many of the technical details around INSAR, because, INSAR is a very, specific way of processing things where you will need kind of, repeat ground tracks, the same kind of, image over time to build that stack. With near INSAR, what I'm kind of speaking about is doing kind of pixel matching, right? And so we don't need to be as strict around kind of that repeat ground track, as strict around sort of the image footprints, or areas, of collects, right? Still getting that specific site of interest, but in your levels of processing, utilizing, your exploitation tools, you'll do kind of pixel matching. And then from there, you could do something that is akin to INSAR. Of course, it's not going to be able to provide the same results, right? But you can use it kind of for your change detection purposes. So there's a lot of kind of, papers and research on that. Once again, I don't work in that particular realm, so I'll defer to the experts on that. But it is something that is, interesting to look at if you don't need kind of those exact results and you're looking for more of a general idea of surface deformation.
Thank you so much, Annika. And I believe we have time for just one question. There is one: does your organization engage volunteer researchers as part of its workforce? So I'm not sure which question, which organization this address. So maybe a final question to all speakers. Matt?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll take that one first. So at the moment, we do not really do this. However, I would point you towards various other organizations who do this. UP42, I know, has engagements, but I would say that from a Black Sky perspective, we're always open to talking to people and understanding what's possible. We have various engagements with people like the World Bank and the UN. So no is the answer immediately, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'll kind of jump in here. So, one, we do have our open data program, right? And so there's over $1 million of data within that program. So the first thing I do is encourage people and researchers and folks that are, in college or in academic institutions to utilize those data sets. That's going to allow you to really, exploit the data, start to figure out how it works, within your algorithms, build up that stack of data. And then also, we do occasionally engage with researchers and with other folks kind of looking to kind of expand their understanding of our data, and then also kind of provide that feedback. So I would encourage you, to reach out to your contacts at UP42 and see kind of maybe how we can interface with you around this.
Thank you so much. Alex, anything else to add from UP42 side in the last minute left of our webinar?
No, this was a pleasure. And if anyone out there wants to dive in a bit deeper into how some, products we provide can help you in your mining operations and want to start a discussion around that, we're certainly open to it. And we can kind of share our perspective on the benefits of these different, data sets like Black Sky can offer and like Umbra can offer, and when they're appropriate and what they're appropriate for.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you to all of our speakers joining us today. With that, I would like to also thank our participants. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.